Welcome to Dunster. The National Trust look after it now. It is far too large for one person to look after it, so I passed it over to them back in the 70s. Lunch is soon, but we will have enough time to have a look around the ground floor before lunch. The drawing room never existed before Salvin's reconstruction. The whole tower has been created by him. This room is where all the ladies met to have tea while we went to the billiard room. The views are glorious from here. Salvin also put in the marble fireplace, and I believe he had intended the room to be a lot bolder. The conservatory replaces the chapel and creates a lovely link between the two rooms. Some of the plants here are very old. The whole of the wall on the right is mirrored, creating the illusion of a much larger room. The views from the window look over Hanger Park, the deer park, and then across to Willerton and the coast. Going on into the library, this is my favourite room. To the left of the chimney is a portrait of my great-grandfather George, who engaged Salvin to remodel the house. Those steps lead down to the library passage and back to the outer hall. We will go that way in a minute. This room is one of the only rooms in the house where the original colour scheme still survives. If I remember properly, the sofas are still the same red leather, but have been covered in these loose chintz covers to protect them. The library replaces 3 smaller rooms, and I think that this way is much better. Mind the steps on the way out. Just a bit further on is the justice room. This is where my great-grandfather conducted all his business. He was High Sheriff and Justice of the Peace in the area. He used to interview the tenants and servants here. The door at the end of the corridor gave independent access so that they wouldn't have to come all the way through the house. This passageway is what is known as the library passage, mainly because it leads to the library. We will turn left just here. This little corridor leads to the armament room, which is permanently locked, and to the billiard room. The window looks onto the approach to the house. The billiard room was originally the kitchen, hence the big fireplace. Can you imagine the length of time it took getting the food from here to the dining room? No wonder it was moved. I learned to play billiards here with my grandfather. The males in the family often retreated here after dinner. Mind the steps on the way out. We will go back across the outer hall to the inner hall, if you will follow me. This is the outer hall. In my grandfather's time, it used to be what was the little parlour and steward's room. This all changed when the architect, Anthony Salvin, redesigned the look of the house. It's far better this way. In medieval times, the inner hall was known as the Great Hall and is where everyone lived and ate together. The only trace of this lifestyle is the fireplace in front of you. Salvin built this, perhaps to replicate the original, and put William de Mohun's coat of arms above. There is the lunch chimes. If we go into the dining room, or what was known as the Great Parlour, most of the guests have gathered here already. We'll join them later, after I've shown you around. As the Great Parlour, my ancestors used to receive guests here. The portraits by the fireplace are of Colonel Francis Luttrell and his wife Mary, who were the instigators in installing the ornate ceiling. The double doors facing you lead into what was the withdrawing room. Just before Salvin's alterations, it had been also used as a library. As we go back into the inner hall, if you look right, you can see how this room looked before Salvin's reconstruction. The staircase was also put in by Francis and is quite magnificent. Each panel tells a story, such as fox hunting and stag hunting. It used to fascinate me as a child, working out the figures in the carved panels. Ah, there's a doorbell. If you'll excuse me, I will just go and answer it. If you would like to make your way to the dining room, I will join you in a minute.